Opinions Unqualified. I think Kyan did it better last week, but that's okay. Welcome to Opinions Unqualified, your podcast that you want to hear, but you don't really want to hear. We're still working that out. We're very happy to be here. I have Sam here with me.
How's everyone going?
And we have a very, very special guest today. He's an English lad, full of charisma, Muay Thai fighter, boxing champion, beatbox extraordinaire. I just made that bit up. Very well-travelled, very articulate. I do have to say there could potentially be some swear words in this episode. So if you are a little sensitive to extended language, I would just be really careful. I'd love to welcome Devo. Welcome, mate.
Thank you for having me, guys. Much appreciated.
Very, very happy to have you. So we might as well get into it because that's our style. We just get straight into it. You've listened to our podcast.
I have. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
That's good. That's what we want to hear. If you were to do one thing to help us improve our podcast, what would it
be? I do think a little bit more research, perhaps going forward.
It's called Opinions Unqualified.
But again, there was a few too many pauses. I could hear the thinking. I could hear the brain cells going. You know, certainly running over what topics are being discussed in the interim wouldn't go amiss in between each podcast. But I'm sure that's something that you guys have been working on.
Yeah, we have.
Consummate professionals, so I'd expect nothing less.
That's why we are Opinions Unqualified, isn't it? Devo, I'm going to go straight into it.
Yes.
How did you weasel yourself into the podcast on the second episode?
Well, basically, I'll explain how I know Charles. He is the brother-in-law of one of my best mates. So we've known each other a good few years now. And I've just had a new daughter who happens to share the name of Charles's third-born's middle name.
Second-born. Yep.
That was an intricate one.
Yep. Do your research.
And touche. And we were discussing podcasts. I said I was a big fan of the podcast idea. I mentioned that you two are doing it, and I managed to get myself an invite.
Well, we're really, really happy to have you here. Probably the number one most important thing, and I'm going to put it off the bat, is underwear etiquette when it comes to COVID-19 and being at home. I understand that you've been home for a probably more extended period than others because of circumstance.
I have, yeah. For one reason or another, I've spent about the last 6 or 7 weeks locked in. I've not had corona, by the way, but I think it varies. Personally, varies on company and what you're actually wearing. So, tracky bottoms, no go. You don't need any underwear for those. Shorts, it's probably frowned upon going without, depending on how baggy they are. Jeans, purely for your own comfort. But I think certainly going out and about, if you're comfortable with who you are, no, not needed. And I did have to question on last week's about going into your mate's pool without boxer shorts on. That is poor etiquette.
Well, we got nothing to hide.
The option was taking your boxer shorts off to go swimming nude, or simply going commando afterwards, I think you go commando afterwards. You don't, maybe one-on-one in a hot tub with a nice girl, it's okay to be with that, but when it's just the group, all the lads, and you're all in there naked, no, that's...
we got the swimmers on, that's all right.
Oh, dear.
There's enough material there to, you know...
Oh, I thought it was just purely naked. That's the impression I picked up on last week. That's why I was... slightly wary of what you were saying.
Can I just get that cleared up, please? I do swim with swimmers on. Just sometimes I freeball underneath.
Oh, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. No, I thought it was a whole group of blokes just having a good old splash around. So that was the impression I got.
So talking about Roman baths. I think we've cleared that up at this point. I think my point was that when you're swimming, you've got swimmers on, you don't have underwear underneath.
Oh, no, I don't wear underwear underneath my Speedos, no.
So probably the last thing when it comes to underwear, and we're becoming underwear specialists actually, so we probably won't be able to talk about them for long because we'd be qualified, is on average, how many days a week during this pandemic have you worn underwear? So it sounds obviously 100% of the time. Devo, what would you...
Well, day-wise, just because of sort of varying activities, are for a portion of every day. However, it's certainly not 100% of every day. So yeah, leaving the house or having to meet in-laws or more recently doctors and midwives and obstetricians, I feel going commandos frowned upon. So yeah, I'd say 40 to 50% of the time I'm covered down the line.
Yeah, you hear Devo walking into the doctor's surgery with his brand new baby Rose.
It was a lack of underwear that got me into that mess. So I feel underwear might certainly help me get out.
That's, I'll just take the next one, Sam. Sorry. So we're talking about clothing. What's in your pocket, Devo? What did you?
I have just come straight from home, so
the contents of your
pocket. The
pocket.
contents of my pockets were the standard phone, wallet, keys combo, and then approximately 15 to 20 dog poo bags.
Is that for yourself or for the dog? Because I don't see a dog around here.
It's actually for neither. Because of the whole COVID thing, money can be a little bit tight, and I've learned that nappy bags are in fact a thing. And essentially, they're no different to dog bags. So having to change a lot of nappies recently, I simply use a dog poo bag to throw the nappies in afterwards.
Are they cheaper than nappy bags?
They're free. They're down the park. You can just nick them down the park. So this podcast is actually sponsored by Canning Vale Council. So the town of Canning, we've got to say thank you for these.
The town of the council over there. If you see a man running around stealing bags with no dog, you know who it is now.
Yeah.
Devo, so since you've been in for 6 or 7 weeks on ISO, what's taken up the majority of your time?
Probably can't say that on this particular podcast, but when I'm not giving that muscle a workout, I've been demolishing through The Sopranos. I think I watched the first series, it took me 2 days. That was 13 hours well spent.
Wow.
A lot of TV, a lot of listening to podcasts, and pretty much rinse and repeat from there. It's not been that was the first sort of 3 weeks, and then the last 3 weeks have been caring for a newborn.
Baby duties.
Which has been those without children, a lot of screaming and shouting, and turns out the babies cry as well, so it's been fun. It's been emotional.
All right, we had a very lovely man by the name of Wayne hit us up on Facebook with a little topic of discussion going on about how Darwin is apparently going to be opening up their bars, pubs, restaurants, all that business. And it kind of gave us to the discussion of what's going on in Perth. And recently, I think our restrictions have been let off a little bit, or there's definitely talks about it. There's talks of the COVID-19 app. I have downloaded it. I think Nixy's downloaded it. Have you?
Yep, definitely.
I have as well. Just on that note, it has made me laugh. A lot of people are reluctant because they feel that it's invasion of privacy and they're going to be monitored everywhere they go. Yet these are the same people who simply have iPhones, which has location services, has Facebook, which monitors everything you do, and pretty much every other app you have that monitors every conversation you ever have on your phone.
Yeah, I know. I think that's hilarious. I find the same thing, is that people are saying, you're on Facebook and you're whinging on Facebook, so they know where you are. Like, they've got access to everything you have anyway. Now, the number one most vital thing for me when it comes to downloading the app, it means I can go to the pub sooner. So for me, it's very, very important that you download this app, everyone gets on the app, so that Nixy can go to the pub.
Yeah, well, like you guys said, I mean, you're getting followed no matter what app you've got, what phone you've got. You're going to be followed by the government.
And what do you have to hide? If you think that spreading a virus is more important than you having your personal details taken, you must be a pretty dodgy person, if you ask me.
Yeah. So talking about those restrictions being lifted, so you're able to get out with 10 people now, as long as you stay within the social distancing rules and the contact rules. You're allowed to do that, and the word is that from this week there's going to be another cabinet meeting discussing. So I think WA's done a fantastic job of really following the rules, and I think we won't be surprised if things start opening sooner rather than later. Just a quick question though about that. So when pubs open, and I'll ask you both this, when pubs open, would you prefer like a soft opening, so where people can come in and buy a meal and they can get a drink if they have a meal, or just balls to the wall, doesn't matter, you can come in, you can rock up at 10 a.m. and drink all day and just be pubbing like we used to pub? So I'll go with you, Devo, first.
I think both have got the merits. I think the soft opening might be good twofold. One, if there is to be sort of a second wave of infections, we'd be able to monitor a lot easier. And from a more personal point of view, saying, we'll have groups of 10, it does mean I've got to find another 6 mates before I can go out. But I do think, allowing everyone to go out at once would just be chaotic, but it would certainly be better for everyone in hospitality, getting the jobs back, getting work, getting money pumping back into that industry. I don't think people quite see it as, people don't understand it's not just the big businesses who are suffering. A lot of this is, people behind the bar who are struggling to pay the rent now, and
your average Joes,
people working in the kitchen, people working in the, the people who come in after the hours and clean, and it's affecting a lot of people. This, so the sooner it is back open safely, the better.
Yep. Sam?
Selfishly,
yes,
I'd love just balls to the wall. I can't wait to go on a Friday to next Friday bender. But I mean, you probably want to go a little bit easier on the introduction to all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm going to be selfish about it, as much as people probably don't like it. But whenever the all clear's been given, I reckon we should just be open it all up, and then can everyone just wash their hands and use a little bit of hand sanitizer and be careful with what you do. And
for me, one thing that's missing is the pub isn't just about getting smashed. It's the safe place where blokes can go to chat. And I know a lot of my mates will go to the pub so that we can drink, we can get stuff off our chest. It's not so much if we've got big problems, but just the small stuff that you need to get out and in the open. And I think a lot of blokes especially are struggling at the moment because they don't have that outlet.
Well, look at me and Nixy right now. We've got a podcast now because the pubs are closed. So
you're welcome.
So there's obviously some benefits, but I certainly think from a sort of mental health aspect, the importance of the pub in itself is becoming more apparent.
Yeah. So, and you've worked in hospitality for a long period of time. You've been very generous with me at certain points, which I really appreciate. Thank you very much. So, talking about that, like we've had conversations in the past, and I'd love to get this down on tape. But Sam is an avid cruiser drinker. So, and Sam gets a little bit of grief from the boys.
To be honest, I think I'm just going to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. That is actually out of order. I think a little bit of grief is uncalled for. I think if you're out with me and my mates, it would have been a lot of grief. I think, you're getting away very lightly there.
So so he cops the grief or whatever. That you've been in the industry, so like, I'd love to hear like a story or two, and just your experiences. The most, we'll say, feminine drinks that you've had men order.
I mean, as a rule, when behind a bar, any bloke ordering a cocktail is frowned upon.
So that's me every
just
time.
How it is, and I think as one particular moment stands out of a lovely young couple. The man fairly solidly built, tattoos, not scary but certainly intimidating looking, and is a rather pretty petite young wife or partner coming to the bar, and the young girl asking for a pint of Stella and a Bacardi Coke, to which I replied, would you like a slice of lemon in your Bacardi? And she turned around to her husband and says, would you like a slice of lemon in that, love? Which is, not what I was expecting, but it's not out of the ordinary that we get instances like that.
So let's say I've walked up to the bar and I've ordered a Long Island iced tea. Am I getting frowned upon?
if it was me, you'd probably be waiting a bit longer. I'd have to wait to get somebody else to serve you, just on a personal rule I have. Cocktails are a ball like to make, and as a general rule, I only try to do it for the pretty girls.
That's fair enough.
But yes, you would be frowned upon by everyone, unless it's a specific cocktail bar. People don't tend to enjoy making cocktails.
I think that the other thing is, like, when you're talking about sort of ordering something. So say the kitchen closes at 9, and I walk in at 8:47 or 8:55, so 5 minutes beforehand, and I order food. Do the bar staff get pissed off, or they don't really care because it's the kitchen, they have to deal with it?
Oh, everyone in the venue is pissed off right there. Yeah. The bar staff are pissed off because that's the point where they're looking at winding down and starting to have a bit of a tidy up. Kitchen staff are doing the same. They've probably already had on their second pint by this point. Head chef, I won't mention his name, but the current venue I work would be calling you several 4-letter names under the sun right now.
Yeah.
And that's if you, especially on a quiet night, that order alone would drag everyone else out another 15-20 minutes, and you would not be given the best treatment.
So talking about treatment, and I'm on a little tangent here, I like this. What's the worst thing you've heard kitchen staff do to someone's meal?
I'm not going to at all specify which
no, don't tell us
venue or when about. But I've been invited into the kitchen once to several of us exposed ourselves and rubbed our genitalia on a customer's plate and on his chicken parmy before it was politely plated and taken out because they'd complained so many times. And I do know that, for example, we've had a couple of instances where people, specifically men, have come in with their new girlfriends and had to be served by their ex-girlfriends who are working in the restaurants.
Oh.
And the food they've got perhaps wouldn't be passed by the health inspector had they known what was happening.
Is that like the bravest dude you've ever heard about, Sam? Like, you're going to take your new girlfriend to where your ex-girlfriend were, or the dumbest? Is it the bravest or the dumbest?
It's got to be dumbest, right? You got to do your research before you
go here.
I mean, yeah, it's not the smartest thing, is it?
Yeah, I can't condone that sort of activity. So you guys that are doing that, you've really got to have a look at yourselves.
Yeah. I do think, as a general rule, it's good to be polite anyway, but bear in mind, anyone who works in hospitality has access to plates, glasses, straws that you will be using. It certainly pays maybe just to leave your change as a tip and always give them a please and thank you. That goes a long way. So
that's good advice from Devo. So make sure you write that stuff down. Next time you're out, leave the change and be polite.
I'm going to go back a couple of steps because we kind of ventured off from the girly drinks conversation there. I just wanted to give the Mad Huey's 95 a shout out on Instagram. He replied to one of our little Instagram stories and he asked us what the best cruiser flavour is. He said he's a watermelon man himself. Nixy, I know that you don't really, I mean, you probably would have a cruiser, but you're not as experienced as me.
Yeah, so what I'll probably need from you to start with is what the flavours are, because I don't really drink the cruiser. I do owe you one cruiser because you got your microphone before me and I've got a skull one. That was one of our challenges that we didn't put up, but I lost. So I need the flavours first. And if you don't know them, I'm sure Devo knows them. And then I'll tell you what I feel like would be the best, and you can maybe tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong.
All right, yeah, this is going to test my knowledge out. So you got a guava, you got a watermelon, you got a pineapple, you got a lemon lime, and you got a raspberry. I'm just going to check. They've also come out with a 0 sugar one, which I believe is raspberry flavour itself. But just if you really wanted to sort of, knock any last remaining masculinity out and ask for your cruiser to have a 0 sugar, the option is there now.
Oh, well.
I thought half the reason for a cruiser is because it's a sugary drink,
Well, I think that's why you drink. I think for me, the most sort of enticing one is guava. I think guava would be the business. Yeah.
For me, the reason being is that, we've all had lemon and lime flavoured stuff, and we on occasions will pick a lemon out of a drink and eat it. You know, raspberry roll eat, watermelon, not an uncommon snack. I can honestly say it's very rare that I say, looking in the fridge, I've got my flake, my boost. I've got maybe like last night's takeaway. No, you know what? I'm going to help myself to this guava. So I think, the novelty of being able to have anything guava flavoured is always a bonus.
All right. So
you're actually an expert on this. So,
well, low key. I do enjoy a cruiser. I'm not going to lie. The best one I'm going to have to say is guava. It is guava. Watermelon can get kind of on the sweet side. For a sugary drink, it just feels like if you have a couple too many of those, you're definitely tasting sugar. While I think guava, you can probably have a couple more without feeling like you're just drinking tablespoons of sugar. Pineapple's a good changer. But if you don't like pineapple, you're probably not going to.
Can I, sorry to just slightly change the subject, and one of my very good friends is very passionate about this subject. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
yes.
I agree, yes.
Yes.
Just for Ranger, when I forced him to listen, he's no, and he is passionate. I've never seen a man more passionate about anything.
Then no pineapple on
No
pizza.
pineapple, until eventually we had our Christmas drink session and we literally forced him into eating a pineapple on the pizza, and it's probably still scars him to this day.
I'm not a fussy eater, so
No.
Yeah.
there's nothing like.
I like pineapple.
Personally, I'm
Yeah,
not
I
for
reckon-
it. I'm a fan, yeah.
I love a good Hawaiian pizza in summer.
Absolutely.
When it's a little bit too hot, you don't really want a meat lovers or something like that. You just want to have a little bit of refreshing pineapple on top.
Yeah.
You get the Hawaiian pizza.
I like it. So I think Ranger, take a good hard look at yourself, mate. Pineapple belongs on pizza. And I'm sure we're going to have some feedback on that. So what I'd love is we'll probably do a poll this week. This week's poll will be, does pineapple deserve to be on pizza?
Yes or no? Yeah,
Yes
I
or no.
like that.
Yeah.
Smash that out.
So we will get unqualified opinions from the masses, and we'll solve this dilemma. We'll call it dilemma.
Yeah, it is a bit. If you're not, I mean, hopefully it's 100% to 0, except for maybe Ranger. He might be
And he can
1%.
piss off. So,
All right, so we had Keegstagram contact us. I think it was on Instagram, Sam.
Instagram it was,
So Keegstagram on Instagram. It's a clever name. Basically, ask us: is Kim Jong-un really dead? Now, this is the first I've actually even heard of that. So I didn't even hear that he was dead up until you came in and said, "Oh, we had someone hit us up with, is he dead?" So I have no idea, but I'm going to give you my opinion because that's what this is all about. Once I'm a little bit more educated from our two other hosts on tonight. So Sam.
All right. So I've done zero research on this as well, hence why we're Opinions Unqualified. Look, I'm going to go out on a limb. I reckon he's had enough of his dictatorship. He was a dictator, right?
Yeah.
North Korea? That's the one? Yeah. All right. See, so I reckon he's had enough. He doesn't want to because usually they get overthrown or something like that, don't they? So he said, I don't want to do that. I've got enough money. I can rule enough people. I'm just going to go to some deserted island that's livable, quite nice, take like 20 people that are going to listen to me and just kind of live an island life.
Okay. Interesting theory.
That's, yeah.
Devo, what's your thoughts on Kim Jong-un actually being dead?
I think, I do think anything to do with North Korea has to be taken with a pinch of salt. It's, I think some of the stories you heard, especially about his dad, were fantastic. First time he played golf, he hit 19 hole-in-ones. When he was born, a new star appeared in the sky. You've got to give him. I don't agree with the tyrannical dictatorship, but I do kind of applaud the way they just go about. You know what? Fuck it. We're going to go and say this happens and then run with it. I respect the fact that they've got the arrogance to go and do that and stick with it. No, I don't think he's dead. I think he's I know he doesn't live the healthiest lifestyle. I think he's probably just had a bit of work done. and probably sunning himself, taking a break, getting away from COVID. I know that North Korea is actually statistically doing very well with COVID. They've not had any confirmed cases, but you've also got to understand that they've also not done any testing. So there's a fair chance they're absolutely ravaged with it right now. No, I don't think he's dead, but I do think he's probably just having a bit of a break and building his nuclear warheads and getting ready for his next meeting with Trump, probably injecting some disinfectant to stay healthy.
So, talking about Trump, I saw, the face mergers where you put two people together. It wasn't like a face merge, it was a hair transplant. So Donald Trump's hair on Kim Jong-un's head.
Amazing.
And it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. But I'm probably on that sort of path as well. But I actually think that he's gone to Cuba because, there's obviously. Big fat Cuban cigar. He's just sitting back, getting served, waiting for served on sort of every minute of the day. Enjoying life, and well, good on him. He's earned that right, really, hasn't he? He's dictated for all these years, and sometimes everyone needs a holiday. Even Kim Jong Un needs a holiday.
Even the worst of people need a holiday sometimes.
So, I can't imagine North Korea having the best destinations. I don't think it's probably quite surface paradise on the coast of North Korea. So
if you want to go skiing, it might be all right. I think.
Yeah.
Have you got skiing there?
I would do. Yeah. It's be cold and be snowing, and I reckon. So we'll probably do a whole show on conspiracy theories, but let's just go down the path of just one conspiracy theory each that we've heard that we think is either hilarious or we believe it. I doubt many of us believe in some of these things that come out, but one conspiracy theory. Sam, what have you heard?
All right. Well, to be honest with you, I don't really know many, so I'm just going to go off the top of my head and hit with what's gone with us recently with this COVID business. As sick of it as I am of talking about it, hearing about it, is that it's just a population cull. Obviously, when you go into the hospital with COVID, you aren't allowed to have any visitors or anything like that. So pretty much just gives the hospital their free reign, I guess, to say. So yeah, that's a kind of conspiracy theory I've heard. So obviously, the bigger, more populated countries and stuff have seemed to be hit by more. So whether that's I don't know, but
it's basic mathematics. To be honest, like there's more people, there's more contact, there's going to be more cases.
Hey, who knows? But yeah, that's my conspiracy theory. It's probably not the best one, but that's what I've got.
That's all right, Devo.
I know we were talking off air about one, but one of my particular favourites was when I was about 19, 20, dating a girl who once asked me with full sincerity, "Can you believe that some people still think that we went to the moon?" So I replied, yes, I can. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last long. But, anything regarding the moon is moon and flat earthers. Flat earthers for me are fantastic.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. And I love the reasoning of whenever they're given evidence, most of which is actually fairly conclusive, they simply reply, fake news. And I thought, well, yeah, you can prove anything with that. So, I like their way of thinking.
I actually like the conspiracy theories about celebrities not being dead. So it's sort of on the line with Kim Jong-un, but like Elvis, for so many years, Elvis is still alive, Elvis is still alive, Elvis is still alive. And the conspiracy theory about Michael Jackson actually still being alive as well, trying to get away from, all of those charges and things that people were saying.
Have you heard the Paul McCartney one?
No.
Oh, this is a classic. Paul McCartney was killed very young, and the Beatles replaced him with a Paul McCartney lookalike because they didn't want thousands of screaming young girls to kill themselves. And the current Paul McCartney is in fact an imposter. If you give it a Google, and there is plenty on the internet all about the fake Paul McCartney.
I love that.
It is fantastic.
I love that. I am going to Google that.
I'm all about that.
Yeah, I'm definitely all about that.
All right. So talking about point system now, or our rating system, we are going to finalise that in today's pod because I think that's something that we are definitely going to be doing soon. with all these restrictions kind of lifting off a little bit, and me and Nixy can stand 1.5 meters away while we're having a coffee down by the beach or something like that. So we're going to discuss thought process, justification, and taking into consideration the few people that are engaged with us on the social media, and yeah, we're gonna, by the end of this, we'll have a rating system that we're going to go off.
Yep. So we have Devo here, who's a self-proclaimed rating expert. I put them words in his mouth. And I'm actually really interested in, he's listened to the podcast, his thoughts on obviously the Nixys. I think the Nixys is the go. I don't think we're going to waver off of them, to be honest.
I think they're definite keepers.
And then just what you would rate it out of, and the reasons why you'd rate it out of that. And I think that will actually impact our decision, because we're those sort of guys. We take all the information in, we research everything we do, and then we make decisions and where we state our opinions off of that, which we all know is bullshit. But there you go.
This, I'm going to have to cut back to my youth, my younger days. So don't judge me. But a particular friend of mine in England and I used to rate girls. Much like in the same way that Facebook started, our endeavours didn't quite lead us to as much fruition. But however, we would point out that a simple rating out of 10 was more than adequate. But using the decimal point, as you guys discussed last week. But, rating, for example, a girl a 5 out of 10 is actually a very good score because it's an average score, therefore an average girl. And, people throw out a 9 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10 far too loosely because I think, in one's lifetime, you're realistically only ever going to meet one, maybe two 10 or 10 out of 10s, 9 out of 10s. And
depends how many beers I've had.
And, well, that's it. The beer to it goes back to the old adage: how'd you turn a dog into a fox? About 8 pints.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on from that. So if we would, for example, rate a girl a 6.5, she might be offended. When in reality, she's actually doing very well, considering there's only probably 4 or 5% of all females on Earth might rate in the upper, that upper percentile. So, of maybe a 9 out of 10, none of whom we're realistically going to meet. So a 6.5 out of 10 is a very high rating. So I do think you saying using like the 4 points to system last week, if I was to go and have a chicken palmy, say, and it was exceptional, memorable, giving it a 4 out of 4 would be something that would be spoken about down the pub for the ages. However, just going somewhere average and giving it a 2 might be actually a bit of a low score. So that was my questioning regarding your 4-point score and your 6-point scores last week. I think scoring out of 4 is fine, but you need more than just the 0.5s. I think you can give something a 3.7 or a 3.1. You've got to be slightly more varied and
that's
what
where
you're using.
The decimals come in. So it's got to be more than half a point. It's got to be a 0.25, a 0.75, or the 0.6.
There's a lot of variations as well. For example, much like the recent debates of what's the best beer. Is the best beer the one after you've just mowed the lawn, or is it the one as you're cooking a barbecue, or is it the one before a big footy game with the boys? The best, using the palmy as the example, might be the one where the first one after the pubs have reopened and we've all gone down the Greenwood and cracked open or been given a poured pint of Swan and had our first pub palmy. That's the best palmy. Doesn't initially make it the best one, it's simply the context which it was in. So that'd be given a 4 out of 4 or a 6 out of 6, but based on the context
rather than the quality of the actual
quality.
Yeah. So Sam, after hearing that, what are you thinking?
My thoughts. So obviously, we're going to need a higher number. I mean, when I said the 4, I meant as in, everything that there'd be one thing that we rate, and that's out of 1. 0.2, 4. So if we rate 4 things, then it's out of 4. You know what I'm trying to say? But I think a bigger number would probably make it a a little bit easier to distinguish between other places and stuff like that.
So what you're suggesting is, say we're rating a palmy, so we rate, so the cheese,
yeah,
the tomato sauce that they use, the chicken, the thickness,
yeah,
overall taste, and then say we rate the side, that's 5 things. So we're rating that out of 5. So, so you say the thickness isn't there, we just don't give it a point.
Well, it depends. So if it's just terrible, you wouldn't give it a point. But if it's like, not bad, you're not going to complain about it, then you might give it a 0.5.
But I mean, also, if they put the palmy on the plate, they've got to be given a bonus point for that. Putting on the chips is always a disappointment.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
You've
True.
got to, and these are the variables. I do think it's difficult to vote on individual aspects of the of whatever it is you're picking.
So clearly 4's not enough.
No.
And 6, we're pushing boundaries. Is 100 too much? So if we say out of 100, then we can do a percentage.
Because we did have James did message us on our social media. He said 100, but he is an aeronautical engineer, so he knows how to crunch numbers. And I don't think me and Nixy would quite be able to figure that out, to be honest. I don't know about you, Nixy, but I think I would.
100 seems like a lot. Dude.
Yeah.
I've no doubt you can both count that high, though. I think it's doable. Don't do yourselves a disservice, though, lads.
But yeah, most other people have said 10 on the Instagram poll that we did.
10 with decimal points, I think, could be the future.
10 with decimal points.
And then they're going to be Sarnixis.
Well, definitely Sarnixis.
Yeah,
I think we're the Sarnixis.
So Sarnixis, yeah, out of 10.
Out of 11.
11, because we can't. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
We don't want to be a 10. That's too.
Well, I think if you go to 11, so like 10, like you've got 10 out of 10, that's good.
Yeah.
But you can get an 11 out of 10.
Oh, right.
So if something's like
just outstanding,
the most exceptional thing we've ever experienced, then that's an 11 out of 10. So we rate out of 10, but we can give out 11.
You know what I like about that? Because that's like, it's gone a bit off it. When you watch a slam dunk contest, and that first guy does that good dunk and they get a 50,
yeah,
and then you can't
have a beat set.
Yeah, you can't get better than that. So I think that's good, because if we get a place that's 10 out of 10, and then in a couple of weeks' time we go down somewhere else and we're blown away.
Well, that's it. It's getting that perfect chicken palmy, and then the week after you get the perfect chicken palmy, but they give you a free pint with that.
So, yeah, exactly.
There's that extra
There's that
point.
11 out of 10 has come into play.
11 out of 10.
All right. So I think what we're doing, and we've locked it in. All right. All in favour of having a 10 out of 10 rating.
Yeah.
But the possibility of having 11 out of a 10, say aye.
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 All right.
Done.
So Sarnixis.
Yeah.
We did have someone. It was on our Instagram story. Molded my luscious locks from back in the day onto Nixie's head. The only problem is that the photo editing skills made it more like Nixie's bald head with a mullet on the back of like the hair needed to be moved forward on top of Nixie's head, not behind it.
I sort of look like Mona Lisa with a beard and glasses.
Yeah, so not being disrespectful, but if we could get someone with a little bit better photo editing skills.
Actually, I'll throw the challenge out there. Nick, thank you for doing that. But you need to up your Microsoft Paint game and get us a bit better version of a Nixy. Now, we're opening that up to everyone. So I don't know if we can post that as an Instagram photo up there rather than a story. We'll get access to it. We'll put it up there anyway. So check out our Instagram. If you can do a better version of what Nick has put together, you'll be our winner. And you know what? We'll send you out. We'll send you out something. We're not sure what that is yet, but we're going to find something and we're going to send it to you. And the best thing about it could be anything. Could be anything at all. So so do that. And talking about sending things out and challenges, Devo had a fairly interesting idea for a challenge this week.
My challenge for you guys is if you both started off with, and let's just run with a stubby holder. And obviously, at this moment in time, everyone's working, everyone's got quite a bit of free time on their hands. So I'm challenging you two with a stubby holder each to see what you can trade your stubby holders for, and in turn trade the objects that you receive up and up until eventually, well, see how high you can go with it.
Okay.
Let's see how far you can trade, starting with a stubby holder each, into whatever treasure gold you can end with.
All right, so what we're going to do to make it super fair and super even
Mm-hmm.
is we're going to go and buy the same stubby holder, so the exact same stubby holder, and then when we buy the stubby holder, we'll put a post on Instagram to say we've bought the stubby holders. We have 7 days from this point to trade up to whatever we can trade it up to. So I think 7 days is fair. Do you agree, Devo?
I think so. That gives us a week in between podcasts to report back with the findings, the winnings next week.
Yep. So 7 days.
How are you going to base the winner? That's my question. Because what happens if one item is worth more, but the other item's cooler?
So when we finish, we'll post it on seven days or whatever. We'll post it on our social media, what we've got for within our 7 days. So we won't discuss on our next podcast.
So
the podcast over. We'll discuss it. So the next podcast, we'll probably be at a point where we can say what we've got.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a week to discuss and work out who the winner is, and that'll be down to the people, I guess.
I like it.
So yeah, I think that's a fantastic challenge. I think we do that.
That's the way to get off the bat, I reckon, right there with that challenge, and can't wait to win.
All right, so I've had this conversation with a number of people over the years, so over a long period of time, because I love my music. I listen to a lot of music, and I love love. I'm the sort of person that just loves love. Like I'm a lover of love. So what is the greatest love song ever written?
That is a good question.
The greatest love song ever written. So I've had time to think about this, and I'll give you guys a couple of times to think about this. But my greatest love song ever written is Everlong by the Foo Fighters. Now, people are like, Everlong by the Foo Fighters? What I'd like people to do is sit down and listen to the lyrics. Like, if you don't think Breathe Out So I Can Breathe You In is one of the greatest lyrics you've ever heard, man, it just every single time, breathe out so I can breathe you in. Like I think it's one of the most spectacular lines ever. And that song itself is just amazing. So Devo?
So I've had two, since you mentioned it, I've had two that have stuck out to me. Now, one of which is possibly my favourite song of all time, which is Do I Want to Know by the Arctic Monkeys.
Yes.
And I think it's something that, lyrically, it's something we can all, we've all been there. We can all resonate with, and it's just, it's a ballad, and it's about, not all love is two ways, and it's a struggle that the bloke's going through, and I think we can do that. The other one is, and I'm just going to sort of explain myself before I tell you what it is. I think a lot of things, people think of the spectrum of love as linear. Personally, I think it's circular, and love and hate are actually two very, very strong emotions, and the opposite of love isn't hate, it's apathy.
Mm.
And I think, I can't remember what the song's called, it's by Khalees, where she screams, I hate you so much right now.
Yes, I know the song.
And I think anything that can generate that much emotion, that in-depth, strong feeling, there must have been a lot of love there for it to generate that much. And there still probably is a lot of love for her to hate whoever it is that she's talking to at that point. I'm not saying it's the greatest, but certainly the most emotional for her to go out on record and say.
And she screams out.
And she says it with passion. There's not as many passionate songs where they make the point she's trying to get across as clear.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, I think that's quite deep and interesting, and it's probably a completely different sort of out of the box suggestion than I would ever have thought of. So I love it, Devo.
Yeah, try it.
Sammy?
Me, I'm going to be quick, and there's not too much story time to this.
Yeah.
Come on, mate. So, Chris Brown, Yo. That's all I got. It's a tune.
It's a tune. All right, so that sort of leaves us into, and I'm going to let Devo, because I've had conversations with Devo this, but I'm going to let Devo lead this conversation because it's something that he's sort of brought to the table, and I'm actually quite interested to see what people think.
Now, I've had this recently. We've spent a lot of time listening to the radio, and I can't argue with that. Chris Brown, excuse me, it is a tune. Would you say it's a banger?
I'd say it's a tune, not a banger.
That's fair. And I think the other option for good songs is an anthem, which leads to the discussion of what's a tune, what is a banger, and what's an anthem. And I'm just going to kick off here. There's a few songs for me that when I hear it, I just think, oh, that's a tune. And, that can range from Taylor Swift to Arctic Monkeys to Oasis, It doesn't have to be a specific genre. It's just some songs, that's a tune. And then there's some that just can kick in a bit more. And you think, you know what, that is an absolute banger. That, and in turn, the next step up is something's an anthem. And, for any English listeners, Three Lions, song from Euro 96, any Englishman will hear that, and that is an anthem. They know what it is. And then more recently, Swedish House Mafia and Don't You Worry Child.
Yeah.
I think that's a song that can sort of almost, personally, I listen to that and that takes me back to living in a specific house with a good group of mates. And it's an anthem that instantly puts me in a certain place. Whereas I wouldn't say, oh, that's a tune. So yeah, it's beyond that. It's the next step up.
Yeah. You go, Sam.
All right. Banger is a headbanger. You get the energy. The energy's there. You hear those first 5 seconds, and you're just like, yeah, this is a banger. Like, I love this song. A tune is a little bit more low key. It's not quite a headbanger. It's kind of a little bit more mellow. And then anthems. To be honest with you, I don't really ever mention an anthem too much. It kind of brings me more to like the electronic music of kind of a few years back, where you'd kind of get the massive ballad kind of things, and that would be the anthem. But that's my take on it all.
Okay, well, I feel like a tune is something that sort of grabs you. So you're there and you listen to it, it grabs you, and you're like, yeah, I like that. That's a tune. I like that. Whereas a banger is something that you dive in. Like, so rather than being grabbed, you're actually diving into the song and being sort of, swimming in its glory. It's something that you want to listen to multiple times. Whereas a tune you hear on the radio, like, yeah, I like it, but I'm not necessarily going to go to Spotify and then go listen to it. Whereas a banger's like, yeah, that's a banger. I'm going to listen to that again. I've just heard it on the radio. I'm going to listen to it again. I've really drawn to it. Whereas an anthem is an experience for me. It's something, like you said, that's taken you, to a place where you've been before. So something like Bohemian Rhapsody, that's the sort of song where you can remember where you first heard it, where it moved you, and where it sort of helped you evolve and change the way you think about certain things. And it's definitely the next level, like you said, Devo, but it's it's an experience rather than just, I want to...
Yeah, and I do think, obviously it's personal for every individual, and, there's some songs that I listen to that take me back to a certain holiday or a certain experience, but the song in particular probably is actually a very average tune, very average song, which is just an anthem for a particular group of mates or a particular group of us who had shared that same experience, and in turn probably feel the same way about tunes and bangers. Certain song off a holiday that was played all the time. So, oh yeah, that was actually a banger from Mali in 2012 or this. Whereas an anthem really does just define an era of one's life.
Yeah, and I think it's sort of like that shared experience thing. Like when you're talking about anthems, you're thinking and I'm thinking, and again, it's personal. It's a group of people singing it together. It's like being on a footy trip and you have that one song where you're just playing or on a basketball trip and you've got that one song and you're just there and you can remember that in the 2007 season we went up to Geraldton, we kicked their ass, and that song lived with us for the season because it was it impacted us so much. And it's the same with when you go on a trip, you go a trip with your mates and there's that song and you all have shared memories, and every time it's on, the first thing you do is text your mate and go, man, you remember when we were in Ibiza and we're doing this and that, and it was this song. So it reminds you of a place, it reminds you of people, and it's a shared experience. I feel.
I think we got it unlocked there. I think we've given a pretty good explanation of what we think, and I think although kind of different, it all kind of intertwines together as well, all of our thoughts.
Yeah. So that's all we have time for on today's pod. Thank you for taking the time to listen to us. We love the interaction. We want people sharing, getting involved, getting on our socials, and we've said this for quite openly. If you feel like you're an avid podcaster and you want to come on the show, hit us up. We embrace people. We embrace the love. Thank you, Devo, for taking the time to be with us. We'd love to have you again.
Me. Thank you.
You got a closing statement for us?
Well, it's certainly put me on the spot. Just be good, and if you can't be good at it.
Awesome. And Sam, close us off, baby.
Take it easy.